Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Inside Scoop. We're saying hello to Oscar.
Hi.
So I thought we would talk a bit. Last week we touched on how you are supposed to start a project, right?
Yes.
Um, I was thinking, sure, if we start and we tell ourselves, let's go, let's do this, right? How do we finish one?
It's a good question.
Yeah, I was thinking about, like, for example, New Year's resolutions, right? Well, people start off strong, even I guess as we quoted, like hitting the ground running. Like everyone's just now on a path to success. Buys gym membership, goes for a week, keeps going, thinks that this willpower is infinite, and then boom, like I don't know,
Mhm.
another week passes, and then the yearly gym membership is just forgotten or something, right? It's
Yeah.
just like when you sort of either fall out of the rhythm or I don't know.
I don't know. I
So
think people do just forget. As much as people don't have the will, people also do just forget, I think. Because it's
just
just
forget
not
about
something.
the goals that you set, right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
And it's so easy because if something comes up, some turmoil, something you have to attend to in your life, uh, that's really important. You just kind of forget, and then when that's over, you don't remember, I guess,
It's actually a
about
good
these.
point. I haven't thought about
Uh,
this, but yeah, you're right. Maybe that's why they say, like keep putting posters on your walls, reminding of your goals and everything. Like visualize it and um, yeah,
maybe.
possibly.
Just the thoughts, really.
Would
I
make
feel
sense.
like I felt like that sometimes. Um, Especially one time, it wasn't really a goal, but there was a time where I was invited to train with a club in football, um,
Hmm.
as a goalie, and I went to one training session. And I only went to one training session ever, and I can't remember why I never went again. I don't know what happened afterwards.
Really?
Yeah, so
I mean, maybe it wasn't the best fit for you. Maybe you just realized like, oh man, I don't like it, or no?
uh, I honestly don't remember. Like I was a long while after that I realized, wait, what happened to that?
Yeah, people do forget, I guess. You're right. Yeah, I was watching this video yesterday about how to finish games specifically because I'm very concerned right now because for the in the past week, right, since we had the podcast, um I redesigned the game again, which is it only happened for the second time. I redesigned the game for the second time, but I want this to be like the last redesign, right?
Mm,
I want to actually commit and just finish it, And I don't know what it takes for me to just find a clear goal. Maybe I need an action plan. Maybe I need some sort of, you know, because literally right now I have more time on my hands than like anyone else who's working a day job and wants to also, you know, release a
mm,
game. So I'm so confused. Like, what's wrong, right?
yeah,
I
it can feel like a burden as well.
Yeah, I guess it's like you have this fantastic idea. You have these thoughts when you're going to sleep, right? And the thoughts say, "Yeah, the game's gonna be great. I'm gonna finish it. I'm gonna this. I'm gonna that," and then everything sort of makes sense at the time because when you think about, for example, the story, the gameplay, the everything. Well, we're just talking about games right now, but I'm sure we could apply this to more maybe art projects or anything, right?
Hmm.
And while in bed at night, just like everything makes sense, just so nicely comes together. And then when you actually sit down to do the work,
Yeah, I've got
realize
a bit
that
of a theory about that.
man,
Um,
okay,
it's uh, it's when you're kind of. It's also right. So I guess it's kind of similar. The way I thought about this was based on thinking about or planning for the future in general. When I spoke to you about the Tomorrowland, um, basically when you're like kind of thinking about something that's going to happen in the future, you don't see all the difficult stuff that's going to come up. Only like really what you want to happen, and like kind of push everything else out the window because it's in your head.
Yeah.
Like your imagination can just go wild. Like you can just ignore all the problems of your idea, basically, until you have to actually implement it.
True.
Which that sounds obvious, but yeah,
Yeah, that's a good
that sounds
point.
like what it is to me.
Good point. We're coming back to that video, right? One of the five. Yeah, it was one of like 5 points, right? And it was that you should visualize, but like very clearly visualize what your success could look like. Write out a plan. Almost, define what is success when it comes to that project for you. So like it could even be financial, you could even say, oh, I want to make X amount of money, cover my debt or something or anything, right? It's it's just like you have to clearly visualize and then sort of pursue this at all costs because that is what you want to achieve.
Yeah,
So it can
I
be a
think
double-edged sword pretty much.
I think for a project like this that you're doing, where it's you don't have a boss or anything, you don't have to meet a target for a number of sales
Yeah.
or anything. That you just gotta let your passion flow with it, and I think that's gonna show to the eventual players. I think that's most important, and then obviously you've got to put the work in.
Mm-hmm.
It's not gonna make itself,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's just your passion that's gonna come through with a project like this. That's like the beauty of doing something on your own. You don't have anybody telling you that that is a good idea, that is not a good idea. You've got to tell yourself, but yeah, or like there's no time to implement this. You can only do that.
Yeah. In terms of this specific project, I guess, I want to keep the scope low, especially when it's just a solo indie project, right?
Mm-hmm.
I, I sort of have a vague idea of what I want to achieve. But then when I sit down to actually, make it, program it, implement it, design it, whatever, right? It just sort of fades, dissolves. Like the clear idea that I had, it doesn't manifest in gameplay. So it's almost the same as, an artist would say, it doesn't manifest on paper what I
Mm-hmm.
want to, draw or paint. So
Yeah,
it's like,
I
I
totally
don't know what's
understand
up.
that.
Maybe I need a more clearer goal. Just
Um,
sit down and think, or maybe I need to prototype more. Like, I don't know, dude. I'm
I'm
very
not
new
sure.
to this too, to like just projects like this.
I mean, I think I experienced the feeling as well when I have an idea the night before when I'm going to bed for something that I'm going to do, and then I sit down to it, and it's actually way more complicated because I see all these problems now. And then it's just a matter of sitting down and getting started with it and seeing if I can solve these problems, I guess. And seeing if it actually becomes what I imagined it to be.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I can't think of any concrete example right now. But that's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, I guess I just have to push through it, right? The power through it thing.
Is there any specific part of your game that you were imagining, and it it seems
Well, I've redesigned everything pretty much, right? So this is hard to visualize. Because when I'm thinking about it from, I open Microsoft Paint or any other program, right? And I just start drawing out, okay, so this is going to be a tree, this is going to be a procedural generated area, this is that, It just feels so simple, feels so right. It's like, oh, yeah, this makes sense. This makes so much sense. And then I sit down to actually implement it and I'm just thinking like, wait, so how is it all supposed to go?
mm-hmm.
Maybe I need to, look up some more material on what designers do, and like
Yeah.
because I did see some tips online, and now I'm thinking of, just grabbing my other notebook, which I have, because I have a dot book. I've never used it
Mm.
except for like prototyping websites,
Mm.
and just maybe start, drawing visually, prototyping sort of how the interactions would go, how to make it interesting, fun, whatever, right? I'm sure that I'm sure that I'll make it a game, right? It's gonna be a game eventually, but it's just basically a matter of time, and then I do want to make it, sooner than later, but if it takes longer, um, I don't know.
Uh, it sounds like it's all normal.
Yeah, I guess so. It's probably just for me. It maybe just looks like, oh, I'm stuck or something, but
Yeah.
when you
I mean, you always
think
feel like
about it,
that on a lot of things. So
mm, yeah,
that's
like
normal.
different projects and stuff.
You go through those phases, I guess, as the guy in the chat said yesterday. You're at this
Hmm.
phase.
Yeah, it's
You
like,
gotta listen to that.
well, he's a professional developer, so like he knows what he's saying,
Yeah.
which is true. And I like the power of internet. It's just like amazing, man. Having the ability to like find people, connect with developers in the industry, like
Yeah.
literally actual people who work and do this for a living,
Yeah, that's great.
and me just being there, right? And just being like a newbie pretty much.
Hmm.
They're so kind and they want to help, It's so cool. And it's
Yeah.
like that's nice. Yeah, but the video I saw yesterday also talked about accountability somehow.
Mm.
And I mean, probably I don't think I need that specific step, which is, the accountability, to almost going to an extreme of I'll give you $100 if I don't finish or whatever, like any sort of motivational thing. So I think I'll push through because I already, like sort of invested in
Yeah.
that Steam's everything, to be able to publish it. So it's more of like being accountable to myself right now. So anyway, do you have any projects you're looking forward to? You're looking forward to finishing maybe?
Um, Not really as of now. All of my projects are going to be running projects, uh, or what they wouldn't refer to as projects in project management. uh,
Without a clear end goal or end
yeah.
date.
Uh, I've got to get started on some things. I'm still kind of recovering from the fucking mess of the semester, and I've been just like helping out with the website and stuff. Um, but yeah, like all the things that I've said that I will do, I've got to get started on them as things that I'll do daily because I don't know exactly where I'm going right now. I've got stuff to learn, but you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know what you have to learn to get to where you don't know where.
Yeah, I
Right?
know what you mean.
So, like especially with what I'm kind of looking into, I know I'll be looking at some online courses, and I'll be just doing those because you've got to learn what's there already. Because I want to actually do research on um, moving AI forward because it's kind of been stuck in one place.
Mm-hmm.
But not necessarily just the application of AI, but you've got to learn what's already there. So that's what I'm going to be focusing on: machine learning and neural networks, learning that stuff. I think that's quite a lot, maybe for the summer, but we'll see how that goes. And maybe doing like a YouTube video course for one of our modules that we had second semester or two even, but I think one especially.
Hmm.
Sorry, not second semester. Second year.
You mean like creating lectures for students, like video
Like
courses?
I guess support lectures.
Supportive material.
On supporting material. When I think it'd just be useful.
Yeah, I'm sure
It's a
you would
good way.
explain it in a better way. Well,
Not in a better
not to
way
say
necessarily,
better, but
but
like in a way where, a student explains to a
yeah,
student sort of way.
exactly.
Because the
It's
professors, when they're so used to that stuff, right?
hmm
Their explanation just becomes like, oh, oh, shoot, I forgot you didn't know this because,
yeah,
you didn't spend 30 years in research or something.
yeah.
That's something,
That's
yeah.
exactly
That's a
it.
good idea, I think.
And I mean, like you learn the best by teaching as well, and I mean, there's a lot of benefits uh, to doing that. I mean, just the fact that I'm going to have an audience from the university at least, and then beyond, because it's not just going to be, aimed at the university here. Literally anybody who wants to learn the subject.
Yeah, and
And there's on some stuff that I couldn't really find explanations for online, as well.
very
So
true, man. I'm sometimes so happy when I go online and when I look for the topic that I am struggling with, and then there is a YouTube tutorial on there, right? I'm so happy, dude. I just watch it instead of reading books, if instead of anything else. Literally,
mm,
in my opinion, this is the best content delivery uh, format. I- And also the person has to be able to explain it well. The
yeah,
person has to, put at least a bit of time to, prepare or like,
of course.
you know,
Yeah.
and sometimes that may not be the case. Sometimes, maybe those videos suck, but that's the thing. If I find them, I find more use out of them because, there's a person explaining there. And otherwise, I'm just stuck here reading black text in a white paper book and just, you know, literally being here by myself, interpreting things the way I interpret them. And yeah, when there's someone there, then they sort of draw, they, maybe redo something. Like you can't really just like ask them in real time, like, oh, hey, so how do I solve this? But still, these courses are more. I think I'm a visual learner anyway, somehow.
Mm. Well, I think everybody's a visual learner. We're just taught to fucking read books at school, and like I think visual part, especially, I don't know if especially, but in mathematics, everything's just numbers all the time. I mean, like when you're just learning about mathematics, yes, you're shown like when you're trying like taught to count, like you're shown actual physical objects, the number of them, and you're like, this is three
Yeah.
beans or something. But then it goes away. Then it goes away for a long time, and it's just numbers, and you're like kind of in this abstract place of what's the point?
Nah, dude, when you reach uni or even like high school, something, right? Numbers go away too. You only have letters then.
Yeah, but yeah,
It's even
still,
worse, man. You start
but high
forming
school,
sentences.
yes.
My
And
God.
I think, like even in early high school and like later on, maybe not so much, but when you still don't really understand why you're doing all of the maths, to at least have something physical to ground it in or visual,
Hmm.
and a lot of times you can. I think that is important, and I think with the mathematics world would benefit a lot from that.
Yeah, well, there was this professor. I'm sure you must have seen a lecture of him on YouTube. A physics professor, an old guy,
Mm.
very smart individual. Um, it, he did one of his final lectures a few years ago, I think. Wow, he's like a very visual. So he shows stuff like sitting on a chair using a fire extinguisher to roll around. He uses
Yeah, I
um
think I saw the guy.
like a wrecking ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and he's like he puts a sheet of glass on the wall and then lets the wrecking ball go and the glass is broken and then he's like, well, now I will put my life in danger.
Mm.
And then he stands having the wrecking ball by his head and then releases it and then it doesn't touch him. And he's like, yep, the
Yeah.
laws of physics work. And it's like, you know, it is engaging, right?
Hmm.
It's like now I think, that the subject's more interesting than just a formula
Yeah.
because as much as, the formula does mean things like that, right?
Yeah.
It takes some people to actually take the formula and translate it back into the human language and the human visual.
Yeah, and actually see why we're doing it.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Someone has noticed a phenomenon like that, right?
Yeah.
So they put the ball up like that. They released it and like, look at that. It comes back to the same place. What does that mean? And they wrote it mathematically. However, now translating that out of it back to what it's supposed to be, it takes some knowledge. So
Yeah. Or like waves. Nobody was ever able to explain to me properly what waves are. I never
mm,
really asked, but like in not waves as in on the sea or anything, but
yeah,
that's kind of like when you tell me about radio waves and stuff like that. That's like the first thing I compare it to. It's like the waves on the sea or something like that, and it's still confusing. It was most confusing for the longest time.
yeah, it's a
What
confusing
freaking?
thing, man. My modem's been acting up so much. Like, oh my god, like what is wrong with it?
Mm-hmm.
And yesterday, and then it came to a point where my flatmate comes over and says, "There's no Wi-Fi." I'm like, "Wait, what? I'm online." And I even on Twitch have chat saying like, "Nope, you're online. It's fine. I'm literally sitting here watching you." I'm like, "Okay, so so I'm online. What the hell?" It took me to disable 5 gigahertz channel, um, change something up with the channels, and now it's sort of fine. Probably was one of those like cheapo modems or I don't know. Well, now
Mm.
I sometimes have issues with my Bluetooth headphones and the interference, I think. Because once my headphones were able to kill the connection to my laptop, and the other time the connection killed the headphones somehow. It's just like, I wish I knew a bit more about this,
Mm-hmm.
but this wish of mine would easily be fulfilled by like just going and doing some research, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, not so much I wish I knew, but it's like I wish there was like a very easy way to just, you know, learn more about these like channels and bands and
Mm-hmm.
Wi-Fi interference specifically because I do know how the physics work behind it, right? Like I've
Right.
taken physics. I know how the wave maximum and then like all of that sort of
Mm-hmm.
comes together to either resonate or and like create twice the force or just cancel each other out. Sure, like
Yep.
but like in practice,
Mm-hmm.
how do we, it's just the same as I talk to some architects and that architect has been working in the industry for like 30 or 40 years or so. And I remember talking to the guy being like, so how does it work? Like how do you create a building? Like what's the process? He's like, "Oh well, first of all, you need pillars, you need this, you need that, and uh it's like every point of the building has to support a certain weight. It means that a certain supportive, materials are needed in the pillar and there and then like it's like, whoa, so you need like all the calculations and stuff and he was an old dude, so not to say that he, goes and like simulates everything online or something.
Mm-hmm.
So he says, yes, there's a book, you look it up, you try to like calculate, you measure. However, throughout time, you just know.
Mm-hmm.
it's
Yeah.
it's pretty much like, you know, if you spend 30 years doing that, you're pretty much an expert practical uh in that practical sense. So that's what I
Yeah.
mean, right? There are books, there are tables, there's theory, but how do you translate it to practice? That's the
Yeah.
Oh man,
So
I need to
so yeah, it's about the waves.
Oh, the waves, okay.
like you know how they draw them like a sine wave or that.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, is that what a wave looks like in the real world? Like, that's the most confusing part for me. You know, I never really looked into it. It's not, I know, but
Yeah, I think so. Well, the wave has a frequency, the wave has a length,
it's
and
a
you can only fit
way
so
of
many.
visualizing it on a 2D plane. I don't. I'm pretty sure it's not. It doesn't look like that on the 3D plane.
I'll just duplicate it and put it at 90 degrees.
What do you even mean?
Well, like take the plane of your wave and then turn it 90 degrees so that the intersection is in the middle. So then you have this like 3D sort of wave going both up and down and sideways. And it's like, see, it's hard to
Sure.
visualize things, right? Because
Yeah, and I don't think.
we see in 2D. We live in a 3D world. We see in 2D.
Hmm.
Now, for example, if an imaginary dude was living in 2D, so just draw something on paper, right? Just you draw a little character, you draw Mario, like Super Mario. How many dimensions does Super Mario see?
One.
Yes, exactly. He sees one because he's literally on a sheet of paper, and when he looks to the side, he cannot see anything else than just a line. So it's like
Mhm.
being able to visualize all of these things, it's still hard for us to grasp it all.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like people say, you know, the fourth dimension, anything, right? You actually look at the mathematics behind, and then they just say, okay, well, just add a fourth axis here, and that's it. Your fourth dimension, pretty much. You know, like mathematicians' way of solving it. But like, yeah, simple, normal humans aren't just visualizing, conceptualizing, or, you know, easily understanding what all of this means. So, and again, that's the thing. I'm not an expert at all. And I'm just very interested in, you know, looking at these topics. Some magnetism going on.
That is a radio wave.
Hmm.
Yeah.
A radio wave.
Yeah. So interesting.
It is indeed interesting.
That's just still on a 2D plane.
Mm-hmm.
So you gotta imagine that goes all the way around. Probably.
Well, the thing is, it's going so fast that it's hard for us to imagine.
But yeah. Because nothing like those simple sine waves on the paper.
I don't
And
know
as
who to
always-
believe. I don't know who to believe. I just know that, you know.
I mean, obviously, the sine waves are a representation. They're not false. They're not or anything. They're a representation.
What if the waves don't exist, you know?
don't?
What if we realize there's like what's just the string theory or particles like light, you know? They say it's either a stream of photons or it's a wave. So
Yeah.
like, so what's the correct way right now, right? So I don't know. I I think I'm gonna just leave it up to the scientists.
Yeah.
Let them do the
We're
research.
talking about education.
Yeah, let them just, you know, do the research they want to do, and I'm sure they're gonna discover better things than I would. Just like chatting about it. Sometimes this could happen, right? We could just like come up with some weird theory, which we would literally pull out of our asses. But like, what if it is true, right?
What's your theory?
I don't have one yet. I don't know. Everything's just a simulation, man.
We have to be knowledgeable enough to realize you came up with it. You came up with something.
Oh yeah, it's one of those like you come up with a formula that explains the world, right? And then just look at it and think, well, just scrap it, whatever this is. I don't know. Yeah, you'd have to be smart enough to. What then? If you're smart enough, then may as well say this didn't come accidentally. You know, you were researching it. So
Hmm.
that's not
What is
my case, man.
accidentally or what is not now?
Ooh.
But that's a really funny one because ideas come from bouncing electricity around in your head.
Wait,
Right.
do you want to get on Neuralink already?
Oh, it's not right now. Not until it gets tested on some plebeians.
What the hell, dude? What if you actually get smarter and like your
Well,
brain
right
just
now, like
enters overdrive?
the first frontier of Neuralink is to solve problems with the brain,
Yeah, yeah, with like impairments.
uh, like Alzheimer's and stuff, to stimulate the brain basically with energy. I guess energy, electricity. I don't know.
I'll just give the electroshock to brain,
Yeah,
something like that.
something like that. Obviously, oversimplifying it, but
Yes, a lot.
but no, it pretty much is that. But they're like the whole thing is how to put the fucking electrodes in the brain safely. So I mean, they've been apparently doing this for a long time, but the way they're doing it now, one putting them in safely, avoiding any vessels, blood vessels, and two, how can they stay there for a long time when a brain can like move and not actually hurt because they're actually flexible.
Hmm.
Like they can move about with the brain. So, and if you want to take them out, they can just take them out, and it's all good. So, and you know, it's all the engineering behind the machine that puts it in, and everything. And then obviously the architecture for how you expand it later, right? Once you've got that in there,
Yeah.
and
Receives
understanding
over
which
the air updates like a Tesla, right?
and understanding which parts of the brain to stimulate for what and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I hope Elon doesn't pull off some, memes or trolls on the people with them.
Memes.
Dude, I wouldn't be surprised, man. When he was asked what he imagines VR, like when they said, "Okay, what would you want to see more in VR, right?" And like, where do you see this medium going? What do you think about it? He just sort of kept quiet and then just smiled and then it's like, well, said like, well, that, well, and then from from the way how he took like 15 seconds to try and form a sentence, an audience started laughing. You could already see where he's going.
Like, I don't know.
Well, he just said, well, I would expect more R-rated content. And then I know, right?
I think it's a very hard question, isn't it?
He's such a troll, man. Like, oh my god, imagine him just sending over, like planting an Easter egg in the brain like that, and then just sending some waves to stimulate some weird imagery in your head. Dude, what the hell?
Yeah, I think he was seriously taking the question, but then he was like, I don't have an answer. I don't know. So it was just like, I'll say something funny.
No, I mean, it's like everyone knows that we need this. I don't know, man.
Please
like,
no.
I like the dude, right? I mean, oh god, but like, yeah, he likes to make fun out of stuff.
He's a funny guy.
Yeah, a different one, an interesting guy.
Yeah,
anyway, we need to finish our projects. We need to complete our projects, not only finish.
Yes, we kind of strayed off. We kind of forgot, haven't we?
Mm-hmm.
What we were talking about.
Yeah, this is how all the projects go. You just start off strong and then
forget what you were doing.
Forget what you were doing. And let me click the calendar and see that. Right, so it's not summer yet, so we can have a next episode on sort of more formal goal setting.
I wasn't imagining this as the one anyway, because it's just kind of.
So we would set the goals to sort of. I pretty much know what I want, but I want to hear you out and maybe assist
I mean, till next week, I'm really gonna have to formulate what it is I'm gonna do till the end of the summer. I need to really figure out when we're gonna be deciding on our projects, on our honors projects.
Oh
Because
man,
till then, I've got to really teach my learn up on all the stuff, and that I want to use in my honors projects. 'Cause I don't want to spend a year doing something I don't care about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because you got to convince whoever it is that this is something you can do. I mean, you're suggested a bunch of projects that you can do, but you can also suggest like what you want to do, and if it sounds reasonable, then I guess they'll let you do it. And if you can't find the right person to supervise you, you can even have people supervise you from other disciplines and stuff. It's not just like if they're up for it. Like obviously, it's somebody's time, so you've got it.
Yeah. And the thing is, I've seen people do games, I've seen people do everything, right? Yeah, well, everything has a beginning, everything has an end.
Well,
just as this podcast. And it was very interesting, a very nice chat, and looking forward to actually, officializing, I guess, making the goals official, more like our summer plans, putting them either on paper or a plan or something, or just thinking about them. But I do want to stick to what I set for myself.
Mm-hmm. So next week.
So next week we're Friday. We're gonna talk about that and cool stuff. Thanks, Oscar.
Awesome. Thank you.
And see y'all later.
See you.